election break is over. Ball is up top. We got a lot to talk about. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is kind of funny because this also describes the political affiliation. Donald Trump will be the 47th president of our United States. If you've been on social media, or at least the sides that I've been on, you might be shocked by this information. But before I talk about why you shouldn't be shocked, because this really was not surprising if you know, let's talk about how much we've heard about the election. So I've already made a video talking about these election ads, which if you want to go watch that, it's in the cards right here. But I gotta say it again. I have never seen an election be pedaled down everybody's throat no matter what. Every single influencer you knew was talking about the election. Every YouTube advertising was talking about elections. I'm not even trying to get back into this, man. And what told me that this was the most I've ever heard about an election is when my mom, my dad, and my granddad all hit me up asking me if I voted. I didn't even know my dad voted, but I promise you, he pulled his phone up and said, hey son, you vote? And if I'm being honest with you, this is a beautiful moment. Shout out Pops, for real. And something else that was crazy, but maybe this is just me for not paying attention for real, but seeing that the voter information is publicly available, like, I'm assuming that has always been the case, but they really wanted to let you know that the voter information was publicly available. But, I mean, it's cool that that's public information. And I even tried to take advantage of this by trying to go to vote.org and see where my vote went. But for some reason, I can't find my vote. That may have changed. I have not checked, so I'm not making no conclusions here. I'm just saying it was weird that I couldn't find it when I was checking for it. And let's just get this out the way real quick. Trump didn't steal this election at all. Because as I've said before, Trump winning is not surprising. It's just disappointing. Especially when you look at Gen Z men, because Gen Z men have been radicalized. We have been radicalized by vibes. Which is something that is also very interesting to think about because this kind of parallels with how 2016 went. Even down to the point that there was a female presidential candidate running against Trump. But back in 2016, you had a lot of the Steven Crowder prove me wrong, the PewDiePie alt-right shift, you know specifically which one I'm talking about, and the bridge too. We never gonna forget about the bridge. And a lot of just anti-SJW memes, specifically made about the people who had their hair dyed, because that's, I don't even get it. I really don't understand that one. But from 2016 up until the present moment, there is something that the Republicans are really fucking good at, and that is taking up space. So I'm gonna need y'all to walk with me here, and I gotta provide you a little background about myself. Mr. Old Dom here loves golf. I love golf YouTube. Some of the biggest golf channels are Grant Horvat, Good, Buster Jack, right? I also can't forget about Bryson DeChambeau, but there is something that all of these channels have in common, which is allowing the sport of golf, which has historically been a more private and gatekept sport, to be accessible to literally anybody. You probably watch one of these videos by accident, and they're entertaining. They get you sucked in. And maybe this is me speculating and I gotta rewatch to get some better evidence, but in all three of the channels of Good, Grant Horvat, and Bryson DeChambeau, they all feature Donald Trump's golf course. Now you may be thinking, why is that a big deal? It's just a golf course. Something that I learned through these videos is that Donald Trump did not allow this golf course to be filmed at all until this year. Allowing the biggest golf YouTube channels to put footage of your golf course, you know, for their big ass audiences, that automatically sets a bias in their head, even if they weren't trying to be biased. To somebody who does not care about politics, they're probably like, that's a good idea. I might support that guy Trump. I don't know though. I don't know. This is just my speculation though. But instead of doing speculation, I'll give you a more concrete case of how Republicans just take up space, dog. For example, Joe Rogan's podcast. Very similar to the golf channels, Joe Rogan is not inherently a political character, but the majority of people who are on Joe Rogan's podcasts are kind of shifting right, and they are Republicans. Let's just call it for what it is. A lot of people consume Joe Rogan's podcast as their main form of entertainment. If your main form of entertainment is constantly inundated by Republicans and their voices, you're going to be more predisposed to like their ideas. There was research done by the Pew Research Center basically finding out that 20% of Americans get their news from influencers. What is Joe Rogan? A influencer. What are these golf channels? All influencers. And to be honest, I'm also an influencer who talks about politics. So that stat really is not crazy. And that stat hits extra hard when you realize Donald Trump was on Joe Rogan's podcast. If 20% of Americans are looking at influencers like Joe Rogan to get their news, and they see a presidential candidate on there, they're gonna really listen to that shit. And I thought a lot of people would be like, maybe that's not the best look for him. But from the comments on my previous video, there are people who are literally judging diplomatic power based on a podcast. Oh, they say the main reason why they trust Trump over Kamala is because Donald Trump was on Joe Rogan's podcast. Oh man. And the biggest critique I have with the Democrats, I said Democrats specifically, not the left in general. Democrats love playing chess when Republicans ain't even on the damn board. For example, Democrats love to take the rhetorical and moral high ground when it doesn't even fucking help them. For example, the craziest one during this entire election cycle is when they start working with Republicans. The bipartisan support angle did not hit the way they thought it did. Democrats have been shifting right over time. For example, look at their pro-fracking stances, their pro-border stances, and their pro-military stances. Not to mention, they did not have a plan to liberate Palestine from their genocide. And now they're working with Republicans. And seeing the Democrats kind of parade around this point made me realize that the moderate voter is just gonna vote for a Republican anyway. Because at this point, the Democratic Party is just cosplaying as Republicans. Like, what? Also, campaigning and touring with Liz Cheney was a real decision, wasn't it? And these are just some of the things the Democrats fucked up on during this election cycle. But to be honest with you, Kamala Harris is kind of doomed from the start. The United States status quo still does not respect black women's efforts. Because if you think about the status quo of the United States, when hasn't there been a white man in power? A white woman can't even take a white man's spot in the status quo. Did you think a black woman was gonna do it? And the worst part about this is if you look at Kamala Harris's political career and compare it to Trump, how don't you vote for her on paper? And to be honest with you, this election cycle has been draining in a lot of ways and has made a lot of people lose hope and be real scared for the future. I am one of those people. I don't know what the future looks like. All I can do is worry about me and my community, right? But with that being said, we can still do the think piecing on the left, but it is high time to start organizing. And to be honest with you, this was still gonna be the case if Kamala Harris won. The only thing that a Trump presidency does is make everybody aware of it. Because if we're being honest here, being on the left, you see a lot of talented people who are good at shit, that have very tangible skills that can help everybody out. And it's a blessing and a privilege to be able to have a platform. That's the main reason why I really care about y'all. Being able to create content is an absolute privilege and I do not take any day for granted. But having that privilege, I also have the responsibility to do the right thing for my community. And my definition of doing the right thing, at least on YouTube, is helping people be educated on things that they don't have the privilege to. For example, teaching black men how to love themselves and dissuade themselves from toxic masculinity. That is a privilege I didn't even get. I had to unlearn that through higher academia. The least I can do is help people out so they don't have to see what I had to see in my life. And one of the biggest things I think we need to hop on now is teaching everybody about politics. Because I feel like for a lot of this election cycle, a lot of people really weren't educated as to why they were voting, but just pushed to vote in general. For example, the best way to teach people about politics is understanding that everything is politics. You really can't escape it. Really stupid example, but walk with me once again. Say for example, you are on a basketball team. On that basketball team, you and the coach's son are mad fucking close. The coach's son also starts because you going over his house, eating dinner with them, playing with his son and whatnot. He favors you now, which makes it more likely for you to start the next time the coach thinks about moving somebody up. And you might be thinking, man, no, I just gotta work hard. No, brother, that is literally politics. In those local ordinances you can vote on, for example, fixing the potholes on your road, your vote can change that. Your vote can make your neighborhood better. It's all about knowing though. Also, being on a school board or an organization, your voice matters in making that organization better because you're already in that position to do so. And if you're not, talk to the people who are so your voice can be heard. And that's just basic politics. That's nothing crazy like political science. If there's one thing the left has to stop doing is interacting with the alt-right community. Because if you look at the rhetoric that they say about us, They've already dehumanized us. I'm gonna show you a comment that was left on my last video, and I want you to read this. Yeah, do you think I should be talking to that person still? Blue plantation worker is, that's nuts. And if you looked at the comments on that video, which I don't blame you, it got spammed. I did not respond to any of these comments because it was a waste of time. I'm never gonna change their minds. Instead of spending my time trying to change a brick wall's mind, I can go back to my community and educate, love, and help them out. And this is a call to start rebuilding community. This is a time to start conversing with your neighbors, find out what they're good at, find out what they enjoy. Become friendly again, because in COVID times, this really got lost. We kind of have to learn how to be a community again. Because whether you know it or not, there is so much strength in bonding with your community. There are people who have much different skills that if you just ask them, they will teach you everything that they know. And to be honest with you, they will be kind of glad to teach you for free. For example, hit up your farmer homies, be like, hey bruh, how do I plant my crops? I wanna start making my own garden. Or hit up your mechanic friends, say you don't know how to change a brake. If they're a mechanic, they probably know how, and they will probably painstakingly take you through it, but they taught you. And also another one that might be slept on, but your healthcare homies. They have spent a mint in medical school. You don't think they wanna prove they know what they talking about? They can teach people how to do personal wellness, among other things. Something simple as empathy is a very radical concept. Being able to listen to people critically is a radical concept. And to be honest with you, unconditional love for your neighbors is also a radical concept. So hey, this is a perfect time to be radical, man. I don't know. Because I love you and I love everybody else on this planet, and I want to see the world get better, but the world only gets better if we all get a chance to make it. And I want all of y'all to make it, because I love y'all. Yes, sir. But yeah, man, that's the end of this rant. I took my break. I finally had a chance to say something about this, and I think I did a good job. But on a serious note, just at the end of this video, if you're still watching, if you're feeling sad or depressed or anxious about this election result, trust and believe I was there with you. I had to take a moment to process this. This was a very shocking time for a lot of people, and I do truly understand that. And if there's anything I can do, please let me know. Do not ever let a presidential candidate or just a person make you ever doubt how special and beautiful of a person you are. You can and will achieve many things. And hey, this might be a major setback, but we going for a major comeback next. If you enjoyed this rant, leave a like on the video, put your boy in the algorithm so everybody can see your boy, BasedDom. Yes, sir, man. Leave a comment. Let's be honest, just leave your thoughts about this whole election cycle. I'm here for it all. I got a little bit more energy than what I did, so I would love to have a dialogue this time. But let me know your thoughts. Let's have a dialogue. And subscribe, man. I've honestly just lost count of the amount of people who keep coming into the channel, but I appreciate you being a part of the community because I love you, man. Thank you for being here. All y'all engagement, all y'all kind words, all y'all sharing. It makes my heart flutter, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that's a medical condition. I hope it's not. If you want to follow me on Blue Sky, that will be in the description because we are done with Twitter or X. And before I forget, actually, we're doing a book club on my Instagram. If you want to be a part of that and talk about books like this, which is Mayday 1971, talking about Nixon. Ooh. If you want to be a part of that discussion, go ahead and follow me on Instagram and join my channel. But yeah, man, it's been BasedDom, people. Deuces.